Alright, everyone. Okay, let's get right to the chase. So this is what we know. We have credible intel indicating that Gunther Langenfelder, a Russian hermethologist, has created a new strain of worm, Ascaris deficus.
Excuse me?
What exactly does that mean?
He genetically engineered a new species, a killer worm, if you will.
What does that have to do with us? He's a nut job. No one takes him seriously.
It matters because he's hooked up with some anti-American extremists that were willing to fund his research. In return, they get his creation.
Okay, so again, what does that have to do with the people in this room?
Because you three are the leading authorities on the 3 different divisions of Helminths, and we don't know exactly what he's created yet, so I need you all to tell me everything that you know.
It's taken us years to know what we do. You want to be an expert in only a matter of weeks?
Not weeks, doctors. Hours.
The following takes place between 11 a.m. and 12 p.m.
We'll make this quick and dirty. Only the most important information, things you'd find on a quiz. Okay. This is everything you'll need to know about trematodes. First of all, their structure. They're flat, leaf-like, anywhere from 1 millimeter to 8 centimeters long. There's a sucker on one end and one underneath. They'll burrow into the human and then latch on to get nutrients. Most are hermaphroditic, meaning they have both male or female gender. That means they can self or cross-fertilize. Blood flukes are distinctly male or female. The eggs leave the host through the feces or urine, become a larvae to infect a snail. The snail is called an intermediate host.
Is it always the same snail?
Different species will infect different snails, but only one type of snail per species. Then they mature, go into the environment. Blood flukes, after that point, will burrow into the humans, get into the bloodstream. There they mature, sexually reproduce, and lay their eggs in the blood vessels. The blood vessels will burst, and then they're released into the lumen and intestines, and then are excreted via the urine and feces. Liver flukes will settle on plants. They're generally ingested by animals, but will sometimes be ingested by humans. Then they migrate to the liver, reproduce, and the eggs are again excreted through the urine or feces. After leaving the snail, lung or intestinal flukes penetrate fish or crustaceans. They burrow into their muscle. People consume the contaminated fish, and as the worms mature, they migrate to the intestines, abdominal wall, and diaphragm into the lungs.
Alright, now the nematode, or roundworm, its structure just as the name implies. They're round cylindrical and they're long and tapered at the end. Just to sort of show you what the structure looks like, they're about this long. Some can be up to 30 centimeters that affect humans. And visually they're kind of like the worms that you'd use when you go fishing. The body wall is composed of an outer cuticle, which actually inhibits our human defense mechanisms against this species. And the developmental process of nematodes involves the egg, larval, and adult stages. And there are actually 4 larval stages, which in each time they molt and their cuticle sheds, which, if you understand, helps them grow. The larvae are called second stage larvae after the first molt, and so on. And then the nematode formed at the 5th stage is the adult. Nematodes only sexually mature within their definitive host. And the copulation between the female and the male nematode is necessary, or they reproduce sexually, for the fertilization, except in the genus Strongyloides, in which the parthenogenetic development occurs. And that's where actually the unfertilized egg can kind of randomly mature into a new individual. And actually the female Ascaris lumbricoides can produce up to 200,000 eggs.
200,000 eggs?
A day.
A day?
Yes, for each female. Some release their eggs actually into the soil, where they can survive and be infectious for up to 7 or 10 years. After they hatch, the larvae can penetrate into the skin host and actually burrow in to get within the bloodstream or any other organ. And actually some nematodes, they can encysted in muscle tissue, and they can infect a person if they consume raw or improperly cooked meats. Some species can be transmitted by mosquitoes. And now once a nematode has actually entered the host, typically they'll migrate to the intestines, because that's where they will reproduce and sexually mature. Also, some worms can end up wandering throughout different body systems. They can go to the brain, near your eyes, as well as your lungs. And some will be in the stomach, and actually, with the Ascaris lumbricoides, they're often expelled from the person through their mouth, through their nose, even their ears.
Okay, so that's really gross, but what does that actually end up causing in the host?
Well, typically people do not die from this sort of infection, but they can cause an intestinal blockage where that can be life-threatening. As well as depending on where they actually wander to, it can cause different sort of pathologies, whether it be the heart or the lungs or any sort of body organ.
Thank you. I am the specialist on cestodes, which are also known as tapeworms, and I'm going to tell you what they do. So, adult tapeworms are elongated, segmented, flatworms that inhabit the intestinal lumen. Larval forms, which are cystic or solid, inhabit extraintestinal tissues. First, we're going to start off with the structure. So, all tapeworms lack a digestive system and possess the same general body plan. They have a scolex, which is the attachment organ, and it attaches in the intestinal wall. There's also a chain of proglottids, which form with those close to the neck being immature, those in the middle are mature, and those at the end are gravid, which means they're full of fertilized eggs. These are released into the feces. Because tapeworms, they are lacking an alimentary canal, which is why they lack a digestive system. This lack means that nutrients must be absorbed through the tegument, which is the outer body covering of the worm. This structure is well adapted for transport functions since it is covered with numerous microvilli resembling those lining the lumen of the mammalian intestine.
So what does that mean, doctor?
Well, what it means is that they get their food from the host intestines. Tapeworm species that infect humans are also hermaphroditic. So each proglottid is one segment of a tapeworm that contains the reproductive organs, and it has both male and female reproductive systems. And these tapeworms can also grow up to over 30 feet long in humans and be several thousand segments long. The reason why this is important is because humans who are infected with tapeworms can pass about 6 proglottids a day, which the adults have between 1,000 and 2,000 proglottids a day, which can each have over 100,000 eggs. Okay, so some symptoms and signs that we know that people have tapeworms is if they begin to feel nauseous, or they vomit a lot, they feel weak and they have a loss of appetite, they have diarrhea and abdominal pain, and they have weight loss, extreme weight loss. So, and also, we know that if we are inspecting meat.
This is Smith. What? Yeah, we'll be right there. What is this thing?
Let me explain, you idiot. We take 3 worms, take best part of each worm, create one genetically altered worm. We use this worm to infect people in airport. These people in airport fly home, they take this worm with them home. They suffer, they die, they scare the American people. This make America very angry and fall to their knees. Capiche?
How sure are you of this intel? Is there anything that we can do to stop it?
All right.